Welcome to the 20th episode of the Bach and Arthur podcast.
Yay! Come on.
So it's our 20th anniversary.
Yes.
Big kiss, please.
Oh my goodness.
This is the third time we filmed this. And I've said the exact same thing every time. Big kiss, please. And I can't do it anymore.
And I've been disgusted by it ever since.
Guys, for the people on the Patreon, the mukbang is out now.
Yeah, go check it out. It's a post that's standalone. It hasn't been a Patreon perk up until now. What exactly we're going to do with it, so we're still figuring it out. But probably Patreon supporters will get those types of videos, the monthly videos, weeks in advance of everyone else. Yeah. And they'll also probably get exclusive BTS content. So like the Red Bull vlog, when it eventually comes out, there'll be lots of behind the scenes that don't make it to the video. There'll be like a Chris MD but shorter style unseen bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, exciting stuff.
Ooh,
although
now we can put Chris MD in the thumbnail. Well done.
Yeah, nice. It's actually been haunting me because I wrote this in the comments of it, but I remember I was going to do a like commentary video on mukbangs like years ago. And when I was doing it,
guys, you didn't do that. It would be so interesting.
Through the like etymology of it, like food broadcast food, all that kind of stuff. And then there were loads of Korean creators being like, oh, everyone says this wrong. And they're like, the K and the G are like supposed to be a lot softer and that people pronounce the vowels wrong.
Yeah, but you kept saying it in the mukbang.
I kept calling it a mukbang.
Mukbang.
Like a mukbang.
You kept saying that, yeah. Which was off-putting for me to hear from you.
Yeah, and I got it so wrong. And every time, because I looked through the edit.
Not even right.
This is how you're supposed to say it.
Mukbang.
Mukbang.
Mukbang. So they definitely do the K and the G a lot softer. Right. It's not like a mukbang.
Yeah.
It's like a mukbang.
Yeah, because a lot of people just say mukbang.
Yeah.
And you took me off guard by using the proper pronunciation.
Yeah,
and I was saying it's kind of like if you were to say instead of pizza, you go pizza.
Yeah, but I always wonder this, like at what point, we kind of had this with Everest and Everest.
Yeah, right.
Like I can't figure out which one's better because like I try and do it because I feel like it's a cultural appreciation thing of like, I'm saying it how you're supposed to say it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Korean creators being like, oh, you're pronouncing it wrong. If you're going to say the word, say it properly. But then at the same time, you can come across as just like really pretentious doing it.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Or like an idiot when you get it wrong as well.
Yeah. Well, you often come across as an idiot.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's very difficult because there's some words that you go for the like native pronunciation and some words that you don't. Like for instance, with croissant.
Yeah.
You'd often go more French on that than say croissant.
Yeah.
You know? Although I know some Americans like the classic meme, you almost made me drop my croissant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah.
I'm glad you did. It would have been awkward if you didn't. Whereas you'd say croissant if you want one, really.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other things like pizza. You just say pizza. Or can I get a paella instead of paella?
Paella. Yeah, and if you just go like, oh, can I get a paella?
Yeah, and you don't say
it almost seems like
Barcelona.
you're taking the piss.
You say Barcelona.
It's a funny one because I'm learning Arabic on Duolingo.
Yeah.
There's so many words in Arabic that they say that I'm like, when I say it's funny because like if you hear someone with like a British Muslim saying these words, they work it in so naturally and make it sound so natural. But I feel like when I tried it on the AI slop thing because like now, like I rarely, if ever, hear people say Quran. Like if I'm listening to Islamic scholars or academics speak about Islam, it's always like Islam and the Quran. Yeah. And like they say it like that. But if I try and say it, it almost seems
I know what you
worse.
mean. It might be you overthinking it, or it's just like
it probably is.
It's not your natural, like not natural, like native dialect. So it's like it doesn't feel as natural for you. You know,
like I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, he said it in a way that sounds more like we say it, and be like that's offensive at all. Obviously, like people can tell I'm like trying my best to like, you know. But it is always an interesting one because I do feel like, and not just in that, but just in general. I mean, that's the one that mainly comes to mind because it's one I hear so often now.
Yeah.
But I always feel that with so many languages.
Hey, I was in an Italian restaurant once and I said, can I get the prawn linguine instead of linguine? And it was Zizzi's. And the waitress was completely British and everyone made fun of me.
Did they actually?
But for some reason on that day, I felt like pronouncing linguine correctly.
Yeah.
But it just and then I was like, well, I wish I never said that.
And then you feel like you're taking the piss because it's like, right, exactly. Well, it feels like I'm mocking the Italian culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though, you know, you kind of can.
It runs through my blood.
Is there a quarter?
Dude. It runs through my blood. Okay.
Yeah.
Trust me on that. Can I say something?
Go on.
I ordered a karaoke machine, which I'm a black belt in, by the way.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn up.
Stupidly good at singing.
And it didn't turn up. Anyway, that's my segment
Is
done.
it still coming?
Well, so I got on Amazon support and I said, yo, where's this at? They said it will be here by the end of the day. It wasn't here by the end of the day. And so I said, it didn't turn up. They gave me a £5 gift card.
What?
Refunded me and said, if it turns up, please, can you send it back? I said, yeah, I will. And I'll send it back. Trust me. So that's as interesting as my weekend got. Can I say one more thing? It's even more interesting.
Go on.
And this is the last thing, okay? So someone dropped a comment. You'll probably know who you are. I can't remember who it is. And it was like a comment that was lost in comments. I don't know if it was on this podcast or it was one of my TikToks or YouTube video. But they said, when you look upwards, your eyes go in opposite directions.
You.
Me. And I thought, you. Yeah, you. Me. I'm a female. Anyway, so I thought,
that was a bit much. I can't lie.
Yeah, sorry. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to leave
it. No, you can't do all that and then just leave it gone. That was upset you.
No. I thought, oh, they're just taking the piss. That's not true. I looked in the mirror and filmed it. My eyes go in opposite directions when I look upwards.
It's a thing when you look beyond cameras, it happens naturally.
Look me right. Look at my eyes. When I look upwards, they go in opposite directions, apparently.
No, I can't really tell.
Let me get right up in the camera.
I'll look through the next edit because I
can you see that or not?
Well, look beyond it and you'll clock it.
Apparently, wait.
Anyway, well, I mean, the audio listeners aren't going to care at all now.
No, but okay, but that was like 5 seconds. They can put up with it. Okay, fine. That's live.
Oh my goodness.
Give them something
By
nice.
the way, just so you guys know, so we actually, I mean, you can probably tell because we're dressed the same. We did the...
Audio listeners won't care about that.
We did the previous episode a couple of hours ago, and we are probably never getting a more interesting episode in our lives.
Oh my God, that was
the
so
stories
cool.
that Ash told were just mind-blowing.
Yeah, you guys will know because it will be out before this, obviously.
I was sitting there going like, the closest I can relate to this, he's going like, I got stalked by wolves, I'm going in ravines, I'm picturing me doing it in Minecraft and getting scared.
Yeah. Which in its like, let's not take it away from any of our achievements in Minecraft, right?
That's true.
It's still very brave of what we do in that game.
But we've had a pint ever since, and that's why Bach just being a bit weirder.
Since, right.
he ain't normal. I was sitting there putting all this stuff together, and bro was just there just chopping pints.
Should we address the elephant in the room?
Hello again, Mr. Elephant. Thank you for coming back. Good to see you're a big fan of the podcast.
I'm wearing camo trousers. Anyway, what are we? Where were we?
That's what I mean.
Ash was so entertaining. And do you know what? It's the perfect segue because a man of the mountains, known as the snow leopard. We have another man of the mountains.
This is actually true.
Known as the domestic pussycat by the locals. Tell us about the 3 Peaks challenge you did.
Or
will it be out yet? Or people know that it's happening?
No, it probably won't be out for a while because there's a lot of footage. But I did the 3 Peaks challenge. I did put it on my story so people know.
Okay.
So I did the highest mountains, reached the highest points in Scotland, Wales, and England.
In 24 hours.
We tried to do it in 24 hours, but Chris actually said I can't ruin whether or not we did it because that's kind of the point of the video.
Well, yeah, of course. But the 3 Peaks challenges do it in 24 hours.
Well, some people do it in like 3 days, 5 days.
That's not the 3 Peaks challenge then. So whoever did that, you haven't got the achievement.
You'll never guess who did it first, by the way. Do you have any idea who did it first? I don't know if you know.
Wait, because I don't know the teams.
No. Oh, well. I can...
Well, just out of the individuals who went.
Sorry, I meant the first person in history to complete the 3 Peaks challenge.
Oh, of course, Phineas Fogg.
Sam Allardyce.
What?
Do you know who that is?
Did he make it up?
The football manager, yeah.
Did he make it up though? Because if I make up a challenge,
but it's
then I'm going to be
the highest mountain in England, the highest mountain in Scotland, the highest mountain in Wales. Like that's a pretty monumental challenge.
I reckon it didn't exist before he did it though.
Well, that's at least what we told. But oh my goodness, what an absolute slog that was.
Slop.
Really good fun. We'll probably revisit it briefly on the podcast afterwards. But yeah, it was good. It was chaotic. There were dropouts. Some people didn't make it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Did they find it that difficult?
Yeah. It was actually quite...
For reference, so how quickly do you have to get up and down the mountain?
At a reasonable pace, I would say.
So let's say, let's say with Snowdon, how many hours did you ideally want to do it in?
Oh, I actually can't remember, but
like 3 Peaks challenge.
like 2.
And that's difficult.
Like 2 up, 2 down, maybe 1.5.
2 up, 2 down.
I did. To be fair, I had no idea about the timings and stuff like that. I was just making sure I was.
Did you enjoy it though?
I wouldn't do it again because I don't know. I don't know if doing that.
But you did it in a 24-hour period.
I would do it in a chill one where like I
That's
would get to the top and have a picnic at the top and have a cup of tea. Also, well, okay, so in the Patreon chat, I actually asked for a few questions.
Okay. I'm glad you brought this up though.
I'll go through a few.
One of my greatest hobbies is hiking.
Have you done the 3 Peaks challenge?
No.
I'd do it again, but not do it in the 24 hours because
that's not the 3 Peaks
a lot of that was like the mental challenge as well. Because you'd get to the top of the first one, get to the bottom, and you're like, oh, I've got to do it again. And because you're kind of racing, you don't have time to really take in the atmosphere,
I know
the views. You're kind of looking because they're not steps.
No.
Like it's a cliff face. There's quite a lot of like rocky steps like kind of planted in.
Yeah.
But it's so uneven. You're basically watching head down where each foot is going, one in front of the other. And you don't really get enough time to take it all in. And obviously a lot of the time it's dark.
Yeah.
2 out of the 3 mountains we got to the top and it was cloud cover.
Cloud, yeah.
And we were like, we can't even see.
Yeah.
And we were like 20 minutes beforehand, it was completely clear. And we were like, if we chilled here for an hour or two, we'd probably have the craziest view.
Yeah.
But thankfully on the third one, we got sunset and oh my.
You end on Snowdon, don't you?
We ended on Snowdon, yeah.
Yeah.
So we started in Scotland.
Yeah, you do Ben Nevis, then Scafell Pike, and then
Ben Nevis in Scotland, then Scafell Pike in England, in the Lake District,
in Wales.
Snowdon. But obviously you spend more time in the car driving from one to the other, and like trying to nap awkwardly.
What sort of like attire were you wearing? Did you have your own clothes, or did like Chris provide clothes?
So we had our own clothes. So I just wore a gym t-shirt, running shorts, and I had the hiking boots that Chip bought me for when we went underneath Snowdon for the world's deepest hotels. So I had proper waterproof hiking boots and stuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the other challenges. The blisters were insane.
Yeah.
Like my foot was just covered in blister plasters just to like give you an extra layer of skin.
Yeah, because you got really pathetic skin. What?
I have soft, luscious skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the Patreon chat, Aoife M says, were the views more spectacular on the way up or the way down? That's a good question. I guess it varied on the time of day. And whether there was cloud cover. Quite a lot of the time, I think me, George, Reev, Chris, and Harry kind of led the way. That's probably about half the group that did it. And so we would often like go and then wait at points for like the rest of the guys to come up. And they were the best points. Obviously, if the sun was shining, and the views are just breathtaking.
How's your cardio?
Pretty good, I would say. I mean, me and Reev won I
was going to say,
not
Reev
like a race. Like obviously, it wasn't like everyone like sprint to the finish line, and like we weren't like digging deep by the end to like really like go like, oh, I'm going to beat you. But we naturally on the way back, it was like pitch black, and we ended up basically splitting into pairs. Yeah. Just because we were like, it's pitch black, everyone's got head torches. There's no use in waiting for people and stuff like that. Like it had been a very, very long day, and we were just like, let's all just finish it in our own sort of times. Like if people want to chill and go a bit slower and pace it down the mountains in the dark and not risk their stuff as much. Yeah. And so me and Reev ended up peeling off and completing it first, which I was surprised about, to be fair. I don't do as much cardio as I used to. Also Chris and George are pretty fit, able guys. Yeah. They weren't far behind at all. And yeah, probably weren't necessarily going like, oh, I'm digging in, going 100% to get to the end. But I was like, before I started, I wonder if I physically have this in me. So it was quite cool to cross the finish line in good time. Yeah. Rach asks, who's the biggest motivator, and why is it definitely Reev? And that's so true. Reev is someone that I really want on the podcast.
Why is it definitely
He
Reev?
is the most like, I've spoken about him on other podcasts. I think it was the What's Good podcast where I just love the way Reev looks at life and has an outlook on life. And
I thought you were going to end it at looks.
Yeah,
I just love the way Reev looks.
He's a handsome boy. He's tall and he's jacked. So
he is jacked.
But he is like, of anyone you'd want to be, I mean, I was with him pretty much the entire journey. Yeah. Like 95% of it, I would say me and Reev were side by side. Probably, with George, Chris and Harry a lot of the time as well. And just his outlook on life. He loves philosophy as well, which is why I want to get him on the podcast. And he's really into Stoicism, meditation, like appreciating life. Yeah. Is one of those people that you can just genuinely profoundly talk about good, important experiences, like just says really interesting, profound things all the time, like really gives you food for thought. Yeah. And the whole time he just made me really appreciate nature and what we were doing, and just feeling grateful for it all. Yeah. And it's just so motivational and just being like, come on.
So Rachel's right then.
So Rachel, yeah, smashed it. Obviously, Reev. Not hugely surprising, I guess, for some people who know his content, because he is big into his fitness and motivating people in a really good, healthy, positive way.
Yeah.
He's obviously changed to fitness stuff on his channel now, and he does that. And yeah, just a fantastic guy. So
yeah, good.
Rach knows. And then L says, "Did you see any wild animals?" That was the only. There's just a lot of sheep.
Yeah, there's so many sheep on the mountains.
A lot of sheep up
Especially
the mountains.
yeah.
And they're a bit scary because obviously you're walking up the thin path and they're sort of just on the side, and you're like, there's nothing between me and a sheer drop on the right, and there's a sheep on my left. If it just gets a bit startled, like let's say you trip over a rock and it gets startled, it could just ram you and push you off.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think 8 to 9 people a year die doing the 3 Peaks Challenge.
From sheep.
Which is a lot. No, not from the sheeps, but just in general. And 20 people get injured. And I was like, you are doing it. And you're like, this would pass no health and safety regulations at all.
Yeah.
Like, just constant sheer drops. And you are like...
Especially some of the routes up some of the mountains are insane.
Yeah.
Have you seen, I think it's Crib Goch, something like that on Snowdon. Oh my God. It's like just a sheer like point where you're just walking along no path. You're just sort of like climbing across to the summit. And loads of people do that.
Yeah, crazy.
You don't need climbing gear or anything. They just do it.
Yeah, it is pretty mental.
Speaking of sheep up mountain, I was going up a mountain in Wales. I think we were going to like, it's called like Mole Cycle or something like that. It's like a waterfall and then you get to the top of the mountain. A really nice hike, but I'd been there a couple of weeks before with friends, and I went back with my girlfriend, and we were going up the same route, and there was just a dead sheep with its hole inside. It was just hollowed out and it'd been like pulled apart. I was thinking, what has done this? Because it was like fresh, like couple of weeks or a week or whatever. It can't have been that old. It wasn't like proper decomposing. Flies had just got to it. It stunk a bit, but it was like something had been like ripping at it. I don't think something had killed it. There's nothing big enough in the UK really to just take down a sheep. But it was like things had gotten to it, and it started to make me think, I wonder how that thing died in that short space.
That's quite creepy.
I was wondering, I assume what would happen, it would like fall down from the cliff, maybe died, got stuck upside down, died, or maybe it died of natural causes, and then foxes and stuff like that just started picking it apart. But it looked like it had been like just savaged by a wolf or something. It was kind of intimidating.
Be surprised at maybe like rats that can just
like even like crows and stuff.
Crows or birds. Yeah,
I think it would just have just died naturally and then just torn apart.
But yeah, no, there were quite a lot. It
was such a shock.
Quite a lot of birds and sheep, and that was pretty much it. Quite nice, but
do you see any like wild berries and stuff like that? You can get a lot of blueberries, like mulberries up there.
No, sadly not.
Bilberries.
No. Alex says, was there any point where you were genuinely scared for your life? And other than the sheep ramming you, there are the occasional bits where there's just a ledge and just the most ominous sheer drop. And my dad actually sent me a message before I went up that made me just go like, I'm not even going to stand close to the edge. It was, I sent it to the group chat as well, just like, maybe we should bear this in mind. But he said, you may remember the story, but when I was 13, my best friend's brother, an experienced climber, fell to his death off Ben Nevis. He went to the edge of a gully to take in the view, and a rock gave way beneath him, and he fell 2,500 feet. So although you're being guided company, please remember that mountains take lives. So be careful. We weren't even in guided company, but that kind of stuff, like you're standing there and you're like, I know I'm far enough back to not even come close to slipping off, but like technically there's nothing stopping this 10 feet from the edge to where I'm standing, just giving way and eroding. And plummeting, and it's a really terrifying thought. And that was in my mind quite a lot, really. And the other thing, I guess, is like, just because of the way the human body works, like it's not unheard of for people our age or any age. Like just because we're young, fit men in our 20s doesn't mean that we can't have a brief heart attack or pass out. And you're crossing something, and you're like, I'm not going to slip here. Like I'm steady foot, I'm fine, I've got the balance, I'm fine. But like, if I randomly just passed out or had some kind of heart attack or something that just caused me to black out for a couple of seconds, and I just tipped to the side, like I'm gone. There's no railings or anything. It is
just off the side.
It's just like you can see how
things
it happens.
Like, I mean, you're going up 3 mountains really quickly and down them really quickly. By the end, like probably by the point you get to Snowdon, your legs are starting to feel a bit weak and kind of like jelly. Even after a football match, sometimes my legs will feel like that, and it just feels like you can't control them as well.
Yeah.
So when you're walking along those like edges where a misstep and you're like rolling down, God knows how far.
Yeah.
It is worrying after doing like that amount of leg work.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be so sure on my legs at that point, I don't think.
It's always when you first get out the car. So like we'd go up a mountain, down a mountain in a car. And then you get out and you've been driving for a few hours. Your legs are so rusty.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting to have a few days rest like they do after a football match. Like you don't do any exercise the day after.
Yeah.
And like a couple hours later, you're going up again. And the first like couple hundred steps easily, you're like, my legs feel so weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you get used to it and then you do it all over again. But genuinely, like, so grateful for Chris for organizing it and doing it for his channel, because like it's just one of those experiences where I was like, I may never have done this without this. And obviously some of those boys are some of my best friends.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, what an honor and privilege it was to have such a beautiful view and a great experience.
What was your favorite? I know it's hard to appreciate like the view and stuff like that because you were obviously on a mission, but what was your favorite mountain?
That's a good question. It probably was Snowdon, just because of us seeing it being at the top for sunset.
Yeah.
And actually, funny enough, George Clarkey, I might post this as a TikTok because it's too copyrighted to get in the video, started playing the Minecraft music when we were reaching the top.
That one.
And I think he did Minecraft Sweden and then C14 or something.
Classic, yeah.
And we were all like, this makes the experience for some reason so nostalgic. And we were a bit like, do we not play any music at all? Because we spend our lives in social media. There's always music or something going on, TikTok, YouTube.
It adds to it, I think, though.
But after a few hours of silence, a bit of the nostalgic Minecraft music, honestly, like it was close to reducing us to tears.
Yeah, especially like just, there's a difference between like the music you find on TikTok and then like music that definitely adds to a feeling, you know. Like
it's beautiful.
The Minecraft you get, and although it sounds silly because it's Minecraft music, it adds so much nostalgia, and it's actually a really nice piece of music as well.
Yeah, it is.
And even like songs like, you know, Sweet Disposition, that's such a great song, and I love playing that when I'm at the top of the mountain. So nice, rather than Drake. We were
gonna do a hiking vlog like a week or two and didn't get around to it, but I think we still should. Soon.
There's
your channel.
It's just, I love it. I think you'll love it. Even like the fact that you appreciate it even when you were doing that challenge shows that you'll probably love it. Doing it relaxed, like you said, you can eat food when you get to the top and just enjoy the view and stuff. It's just so nice.
We're actually going on a camping holiday next week now, and
whereabouts?
Lake District again.
Nice.
Chris is just such a Lake District merchant. He's planned it all out, but we're just going up for like 3 days, like pitching a tent, doing barbecues.
And that's not like a video, just chilling.
No video, no cameras. Nice, we're like, no one vlog it.
Nice break.
And so fun.
Are you doing wild camping then, or are you going to a campsite?
Don't know. I think campsite. I'm guessing campsite because Chris has quite a big tent.
Yeah. Fair. No, that would be fun.
But yeah, so fun. It reminded me
of what?
Of Greek mythology again. These are my favorite segments. The myth of
because I saw
Sisyphus.
Saw your story about it. What did you say on your story?
One must imagine Sisyphus.
Exactly. ... And do tell us about Sisyphus.
Loads of people replied thought it said syphilis, lol.
Like, I
ain't getting syphilis on this mountain.
I said when you mentioned him, I swear that's some kind of disease.
That's vile.
What the hell? What are you talking about?
No.
Yeah, it does sound like a bacterial infection, but...
Yeah, it does.
But it's not. So let's not be so disrespectful, please.
No.
Tell me about Sisyphus.
So Sisyphus, Greek mythology. There's various tellings of this. So I thought I'd just stick with one.
We'll just make one up. It's funny.
To be fair, it's mythology. We could, and that would just be another branch of it.
Mythology is actually legitness.
Yeah, I mean, the academics wouldn't respect it if I told it in different ways.
The academics, more like.
But Sisyphus was the founder and king of Ephyra, which is now what people believe. They believe that that's now what Corinth is. And he was basically just a deviant tyrant.
Sounds like me.
People would come and visit him, and he'd lay out the red carpet and then just kill them to just flex.
Doesn't sound like me.
to just flex how powerful he is, and that he can just do whatever he wants. Just one of them.
So
types.
I'll say it. He was a swine.
He was a swine. He was, and
I don't care. I'll say it.
There were sacred hospitality traditions that Zeus basically overlooked. They were under his domain, and he was offended by this. He's like, you can't be doing this.
Oh, because he thought the god of gods has no right for that sort of power.
Well, Sisyphus was like, I'm going to do it anyway. And Zeus was just getting annoyed. He did a lot. There was another one where he kind of, another branch of the story that I thought I'd leave out because it's quite long and not hugely relevant.
Yeah.
About him essentially
using a roast toy,
being a bit of a snake, and there was a kidnapping, and he sort of revealed the location. I think to Poseidon.
Rat.
But anyway, Sisyphus was just annoying all the gods.
Yeah, I remember getting pissed off at the time, actually.
You are not a god. You are not a Greek god. You might be built like one. Come on. What are you doing?
Right, you're infertile now.
But Zeus mainly for all of his shenanigans, but in no small part due to the fact that he was breaching all of these hospitality traditions.
Yeah.
Ordered Sisyphus to be chained by Thanatos. So some myths tell this is Hades in the role.
Hades.
So
the
Thanatos
god of the underworld
is the personification of death.
Okay.
The personification of death, whereas Hades, god of the underworld.
Yeah.
And Zeus ordered Sisyphus to be chained by Thanatos in Tartarus, which is a deep abyss that's used as a dungeon of torment and suffering
Tartarus.
For the wicked.
Not far off tartar sauce, if you think about it.
Yeah. Also evil and wicked tartar sauce. Very bizarre liquid.
Yeah, you don't trust capers, do you?
No. But Sisyphus, being the little weasel he is, tricked Thanatos. And as he was about to get chained up, he was like, hold on, Thanatos, can you just show me how these work? And Thanatos was, dumb. I was like, yeah, sure. And Sisyphus chained him up and tricked him. And because he was the personification of death, when Sisyphus escaped, no one could die because the personification of death was just all chained up.
Oh, goodness.
And so Ares, the god of war, just starts getting really annoyed because he's like...
Does he like death then?
Well, yeah, because he's the god of war. He's like, there's all
What's
this
the point in war then?
honor and triumph. And the whole point in war is one... Well,
say it.
Not necessarily country, but any kind of group of individuals united, however they may be, defeating the other in battle. And defeat comes through death or surrender. And surrender usually happens after a fair amount of death. So Ares is like, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Because
he wouldn't say for God's sake because he's a god.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very annoyed. Ares basically intervened and he freed Thanatos. And
I don't know if he should have stepped in there.
And enabling death to happen again. So he was happy. Yeah. And turned Sisyphus over to him. So yeah, obviously that Thanatos can be, you can swap in Hades for that. But Thanatos seems to be the more common telling.
Yeah.
And so as a punishment for all his crimes, not only all the degeneracy whilst he was alive, but all of the degeneracy and tricks in Tartarus and, tricking the gods, came up with a very special punishment for him. And Zeus decided to force him to roll an immense boulder up a hill in Tartarus, which is where Plato says the souls of the wicked receive divine punishment. And that's what's going on here. And he said, you've got this massive boulder and you're going to have to roll it up to the top of this hill. And only then will your punishment be complete. However, he set it up where every time the boulder gets almost to the top, it rolls all the way back down to the start. And Sisyphus is doomed to repeat this eternal punishment forever.
That's right. And he's still doing it now.
Yeah, still doing it, still pushing it up.
Yeah.
Whether he's 0% of the way there, 99% of the way there, he is rolling all the way back down, which is pretty sad.
What's the message?
I don't really know if there's a message as much as it's often used in, it sort of had a classical influence on modern culture with this sort of tagline of, one must imagine Sisyphus,
I also think that people... Because, people always get tattoos of that, of him rolling the boulder up the hill. And I don't know if it's because just of his he knows that he can never get it to the top, but he keeps doing it over and over again. He keeps rolling it up to the top, knowing full well it's going to come back to the bottom.
Yeah.
And so I think people often get that tattoo to just show, I don't know whether it's like not giving up or
eternal struggle.
Or because people, there must be a message that they attribute to their tattoos, but people get it tattooed on them all the time.
Yeah, I haven't seen that actually.
Yeah, no, actually, one of my friends, because the reason I knew about it, when you put it on your story, I pictured him rolling the boulder up the hill. It's because one of my friends had a whole book on him. So there must be like a whole like another outlook on the story where like, because I didn't know he was a degenerate.
Oh.
Because it was almost as if he was like celebrated. If you think about getting someone tattooed on you, you wouldn't really get a degenerate rolling up a boulder up a hill, which is his like punishment that he should be getting.
But people kind of like look at it as like a reflection of a lot of things in life. Like I think a lot of tasks that are repetitive or futile, and some believe that's a reflection on life. You know, we're doomed to repeat the same thing. I mean, how many people nowadays speak about this rat trap of just you wake up, you go to work, you come home, you eat, you shower, watch a bit of TV, go to sleep, repeat.
Yeah.
And then you holiday a couple of times a year and you repeat that until you die.
It is true. It's kind of depressing.
And people just refer to these tasks like this or life as Sisyphean. Is it Sisyphean? And yeah, I think it just makes a lot of people think like this is, a divine punishment that, is supposedly one of the worst punishments that Zeus can come up with.
Yeah.
And it's something that we as humans arguably subject ourselves to all the time. And I did feel a bit of Sisyphus when I was down the second mountain looking up at the third, being like, I have literally just knackered myself climbing all the way up to the top of the mountain, spending hours going all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. I'm about to do it again. And it was like, this is repetitive, laborious. It's the same thing. I just wish it was one giant mountain almost.
Just one. Were you doing out and back routes or like loops?
Mix and match. Did a bit of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, really interesting. Another good bit of Greek mythology. And yeah, like with the rest, it's, I looked at quite a few articles and tellings of it, and it's told in various ways, but it's kind of as one would imagine with oral tradition passed down over generations. It's a game of telephone. Stories change, gods change. Obviously, probably wasn't a true story.
Speaking of gods changing, I'd love to talk about Roman gods at some point, because they're so similar to Greek gods, and yet so different at the same time. So keep an eye out for a future episode, because I think we should do one on
We could do a whole episode on Rome.
Yeah, true.
It was a bit of a trend back a while ago.
Yeah, speaking of that, do you have that? Like, do you think about the Roman Empire?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
Don't
genuinely.
you?
Yeah, genuinely.
Yeah.
I think people think that we take the piss. Like all the men are like in on it, taking the piss.
Yeah.
That we think about that sort of stuff. But genuinely, you'll just get something that just reminds you of like ancient Rome, right? And then you're just thinking about, wow.
Even just simple stuff like roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you see an aqueduct, or you're in the bath, which is anything. Have an olive.
Yeah.
Breathe air.
A lot of the toilets were like kind of like Roman bath toilets, just holes.
Yeah.
Where lots of people were just sitting around.
Yeah.
In a lot of these like campsite places. But yeah, just a lot of times it comes. Yeah, we'll do a whole episode on it, because that would be really interesting.
And Vikings, guys. I think about Vikings even more than Rome.
Yeah, and how the Roman Empire fell as well. Just
I would never let that happen.
Interesting.
If I was in charge, I would never have let that happen, would I?
No.
You know me, and what I'm capable of.
But you probably would have consumed copious amounts of lead like everyone else and fried your brain.
Yeah, that's what happened, isn't it?
Well, a lot of people think that's a leading theory. They just
crazy,
had lead
really.
in bloody everything.
Yeah, we'll go into detail on that one, because that's genuinely really interesting.
Lost it from lead poisoning.
I have a moral hypothetical for you. Do you want to move on to moral hypotheticals?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I think I'm done with that.
So let's say you're a renowned scientist working on a highly classified project to develop a cure for a deadly virus that is currently causing a global pandemic. During your research, you discover a breakthrough, but there's a catch. The cure requires a rare ingredient that can only be sourced from a particular plant found in a remote, protected rainforest inhabited by an indigenous tribe. Harvesting this plant in the quantity needed for the cure will severely damage the ecosystem and the tribe's way of life, potentially displacing them and destroying their cultural heritage. Without the cure, millions of people worldwide will continue to suffer and die from the virus. Do you proceed with harvesting the plant to develop the cure, potentially saving millions of lives, but at the cost of the rainforest and the indigenous tribe's home?
Oh, that's a really difficult one. I mean, it's essentially a trolley problem, isn't it? With 5 on the track that it's going to run over, and one on the track that you can potentially change it to. And I guess the kind of key considerations are whether getting involved means is more of an immoral act, because, you know, if you've got 1,000 down one side and 1,000,000 down on the other side, some people say if you don't take any action and the 1,000,000 die, you're not morally responsible.
Yeah.
But if you take action and 1,000 die, you're morally responsible for the 1,000. And I don't know if I agree with that.
Because either way, it's a decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
an
a
act
tough
and an
one.
omission. Yeah.
It feels like acting God in a way, but
It
then
is
we
a little
act
bit.
like God in many ways.
Yeah. Policymakers make that decision all the time.
Yeah.
Is it Moneyball, where they talk about
Football.
no, where the movie about baseball?
Might be. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Oh, am I getting a bunch mixed up? Or maybe it's The Big Short.
Oh, The Big Short.
It's The Big Short, isn't it?
I love that film.
Where
It's not
Brad
about
Pitt's
baseball.
involved.
It's about so many big actors are in The Big Short.
But
it's
it's where
about stocks.
Brad Pitt is involved, right? And these
Yeah,
younger
might
kids
be.
are kind of celebrating that the market is crashing
Right,
because they've
yes.
shorted
Yeah,
it and
yeah.
they're making loads of money. And Brad Pitt's character essentially comes out with something like, you think that's funny, but every time there's this certain amount reduction in
Is it Brad Pitt?
GDP, or every time the economy shrinks by this certain amount,
Yeah.
like this number of people die. And the government technically makes that decision all the time. You know, every time it puts money into arts rather than feeding, you know, people across the world or providing life-saving medicine and stuff like that. Like, that's the decision made all the time. Arguably, we make it all the time. This is something I kind of think about all the time, going like, you know, when I bought my meal deal for lunch, I could have gone without lunch. It wouldn't have, I mean, I would have been hungry, but like I wouldn't have suffered like crazy, but I could have put that £3.50 into giving at least one meal, maybe a couple and a blanket, whatever, for some people in a much less fortunate circumstance.
Yeah.
And the amount of suffering would be way less in the world. And we make these decisions all the time, every time we buy nice things.
Yeah.
And
It is true. I guess it's like in that case, it's like the other end of the stick isn't as obvious in the moment, you know? Like in this hypothetical, the options are clear. Like you go and harvest what you need. You can save millions of lives from the virus.
Yeah.
But you put this, like, the whole ecosystem in disarray, which affects the tribe. Or you don't do it. It's just like, do you favor the million or do you favor the tribe?
Yeah.
So I guess when you have it, like when you have both out in front of you and it's clear with the decision you're making.
Yeah, and it's a direct effect as well.
I don't know if it makes more sense not to go and get the cure, because naturally the virus should be doing what it is anyway.
Wait,
that
what do you
makes sense.
mean? Oh, you think it naturally should?
It just
through the
goes in with like
million.
playing God, like
You don't believe in God?
No, but I mean playing God. Like it's natural that a virus should exist and that it would do its rounds on people.
You can't have
And
that as
whether
a
it's-
moral outlook, because
No, but I
you
mean it's
let
like
everything, it's moral for your, it's natural for your teeth to decay.
yeah, but it's not
Still brush your
it's not
teeth.
a moral outlook. It's more of a natural outlook, if that makes sense.
But as
Like-
in, you're using that to base your moral action. You're going like, I'm making this moral decision of letting more people die because it's natural. But if your justification for your
But-
moral action is because it's natural, like
I
that
think
has
it's
some-
different because it's the current situation. Like the current situation is this virus already exists and it's killing people, just like
but
any
the bacteria
virus.
exists on your teeth, and they're
And they're,
eating away
yeah,
at
they're
them.
eating you. But
so
when
why are
you
you going to brush your teeth?
because I'm not essentially killing a tribe to get something to save my teeth. You know?
So you're weighing in more than just, oh, there's a natural element here, and that's what I'm basing my decision on. You're weighing up your teeth compared with the lives of tribes people. I think, yeah, I guess it depends on how exactly you ground your morality, because like I always say, I think now when I'm faced with any kind of moral question of, you know, is what I'm doing morally good and stuff, I try and base mine on avoiding, like reducing suffering as much as possible.
Yeah.
So when I'm going like, is what I'm doing truly moral? Or like, is this the right decision, or what is the right decision? I always try and think about reducing suffering overall and increasing well-being. And I think with that, that does lead me to saying there's less suffering and more well-being if I go into the tribe and decimate the rainforest. But even then, yeah, that's human suffering, and it's so difficult. It's a really interesting one to explore.
Because I'm just looking at it as a perspective of like, it's not just you're killing that tribe. Because I think the moral dilemma is trying to say, if you take this from the rainforest, it disrupts the ecosystem. The tribe will likely die because things will change. They can't get enough food, whatever. But you're also just taking the plant that produces whatever produces the cure. You're removing that. So you remove that from the ecosystem. It's not just the humans that are going to die.
Yeah.
So many different species in the ecosystem. If you just take one piece of the puzzle out,
yeah, you could.
Everything deteriorates.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that could cause, is what I'm saying. Like, you already know the current situation. The virus is killing people, but you don't know what could happen if you were to take this plant out of the rainforest.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's nice that it's not a real dilemma, because in real life, if I was actually a scientist, I would say, save more people.
Do you think, is that your instinct? Your instinct is jumping towards...
I think so, because I would feel better about that decision.
Would you?
In a selfish sense, yeah, I would.
Why?
Just knowing that instead of looking too much in depth with it, you'd be part of like a massive scientific board making a decision, and I would vote save more people from this virus, because it would just make sense in that situation, I feel. You know, because when you look at it face value, you're saving more people. Like, there's a lot of risk, because you're could be taking the lives of a whole tribe and God knows what else. But at face value, you're just taking a plant, you know?
Yeah.
Without looking too in depth at it. You're taking a plant to save millions. I don't know, it's such a hard one.
Do you, just to reduce it to a really simple one of, the train is currently going along the tracks and is going to kill 2, or you can pull it and it kills 1. Just because I'm curious whether you personally see act and omission as the same. Because I think I do. I think I pull that and go...
You think you pull it?
I pull it and it kills 1 rather than it naturally killing 2. And I'm not sitting there going... I naturally feel like it's cowardly to just go, hey, I'm not involved. I'm not the one pushing the train along. I'm not the one that's actually done anything to kill those 2. It's already going to happen. I feel a sense of moral responsibility if I can step in.
I agree that, but I don't agree with that, in the sense that inaction is action in itself. But I don't know if I don't know how to value 2 lives versus 1 just by saying it's 2 lives. That's more than 1 life. Do you see what I mean?
Well, I think the assumption is that you've got to assume that you know nothing else. Yeah, I think it was a really weird law seminar we had on act versus omission.
Yeah.
Which was, I think it's quite a famous example of a toddler face down. And we were asked if a toddler fell in a puddle face down and was drowning, and a person stood and just watched. And, you know, there's no question. It's not like do you dive in the sea and pull someone out and risk yourself? It's like it's framed in a way where there's no chance that like there's any kind of inconvenience put to you.
Yeah.
But it's like is that essentially the same as murder? Like, is there a real moral distinction?
Yeah.
Because you could have helped, it would have cost you nothing, but you chose not to. And is that the exact same as pushing a toddler in face first? Because it's like, realistically, you are ultimately just making a choice. And it is interesting because I was in a room where, you know, a good number of people were like, that's not immoral. They were not involved. That, you know, it's not their toddler. They didn't make the puddle. They didn't create the conditions. And I and a lot of others were just going, how do you not, even though you had nothing to do with it, feel a moral responsibility?
Yeah.
To do that.
And I would agree with you there, like,
to help them.
Yeah. But then it just becomes so much more complicated on bigger scales. You know, because the baby in the puddle is just the same as saying, do you save 1 million lives at the expense of 5? So on and so forth. Do you save the whole of Earth?
Yeah.
Over one person on Mars, you know? Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's such a difficult one.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably talk about this kind of stuff for like days on end. And I think people do.
And I don't know if
these kind of moral quandaries.
Yeah.
Like there are books written about these for endless amount of time. It is so fascinating.
I don't think you'd ever truly be happy with the answer you give as well.
No, that's the thing as well.
That's why it's so difficult.
Because both things are so bad. It's not as if you can pull, even in the 2 versus 1, that to me seems like an easy decision. There's no way I don't go to sleep every night for perhaps the rest of my life going, that one guy, like, it is because I pulled the lever that he passed away. And like, you would naturally ask yourself, like, why was his life less important than those other two?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, you can really, you can think about it.
I think I'm just so thankful that it's not a real life scenario, you know?
Yeah.
And
it's interesting because we do get moral questions put to us all the time in real life. Like we always get decisions where we go, you know, I think the way we speak about it, like I know we talk about lots of stuff off camera, and, you know, I think we both have this kind of like sense of like, we want to be good people and we want to like make good decisions. That doesn't mean we always would and we always will. Like, you know, we're humans and we make mistakes and mischaracterize scenarios and make poor judgments that we can hopefully regret and learn from. But yeah,
it's like
looking at it
when we were getting that meal deal and you just got the security guard in a headlock for no reason.
And I came out and I was like, how does that reduce the suffering of the world?
And then you went, should I have done that? I went, no, you didn't say anything. You were like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but then I got my meal deal for free, and now I can donate that £3.50 to a starving person somewhere else.
So yeah.
And technically, there's less suffering in that person eating and that dude getting in a headlock.
Yeah, that's true. Because he gives weak ass headlocks.
Obviously didn't actually happen, but there are so many interesting scenarios like that. Honestly, I think I could lose my mind doing it.
I think you lost that weeks ago.
That's why I think I'm so passionate about like ecosystems and nature and like preserving animals and stuff, because it's such an easy moral decision.
Good thing to do.
To like, you know, there are so many things that you can stand for in politics where there are cons as well as pros, and you may weigh the pros in, you know, you may think that the pros outweigh the cons, but there are a lot of people who might disagree with you and stuff like that. And like, I do feel like saying, let's make sure these species continue to exist. Let's make sure our waters are cleaner, our skies are cleaner. That there's a lot of nature and stuff like. It's maddening because every now and then I do see someone online that is like against it and like, it's like who cares? Like, you know, let's fill the atmosphere with CO2 because trees love it. And and it's like, okay,
you're stupid.
Okay, it's
really?
Like, well, fine. I mean, not that take itself is necessarily wrong, but there's a lot.
Well, it is though.
Like obviously trees do like CO2,
but I found out recently, which I didn't know. My nono told me that trees breathe oxygen at night. All plants, most plants breathe oxygen at night. I just didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought it was CO2 24/7, but obviously photosynthesis can't work when the sun's away, so they have to respire. Yeah, just like me and you. Did you know that? I guess you knew that because you're into biology and stuff.
Yeah, we did that at biology A level. I do remember that.
I never learned that. Yeah, found that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is, that's why there was this famous clip of this guy that went on this news talk show. Can't remember exactly what it was. You may have seen it. And the talk show guy goes, oh, you're into, I can't remember, something to do with climate change. And he goes, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I work with wood. And he's like, oh,
I saw that, yeah.
Cutting trees down isn't very like eco-friendly.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, it's regenerative. So we cut them down and plant them.
Yeah.
The guy kind of completely misses the point that when you're dealing with wood, if you cut a tree down, that tree is largely made of carbon. That carbon dioxide is taken from the atmosphere, like essentially solidified. I think it's sequester. I've only read that word. I don't know how to pronounce it properly. And they essentially, it turns it into that wood. And if you then take that wood out, use it for stuff, and then plant a new tree, that new tree is going to bring, and growing trees obviously are bringing in much more carbon than a tree that's fully grown, that isn't necessarily bringing more carbon to like grow itself. And so like that is an objectively good thing. And it's just mental that some people
he was an idiot though.
Yeah.
Because he was just arguing for the sake of it with no valid points.
Yeah. And he was like, I can't remember what happened exactly, but he said something like, he's like, well, you can't grow concrete.
Yeah.
And the news reporter guy goes, yeah, you can. And the eco-friendly guy just pauses and lets it sink in.
Yeah.
And the other guy just goes, well, enough of you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Something like
Thanks.
that.
He cuts down trees and calls himself eco-friendly. And it's like,
you're stupid.
The world is just such a fascinating place.
Yeah.
And who knows, you know, maybe one or two people are out there that think that, you know, that making the air cleaner and rivers cleaner stuff is a bad thing. But
yeah, I'm sure there are.
And not to say that there aren't aspects of discussions in terms of climate change aren't unreasonable. You know, there are certain things like issues with batteries and electric cars aren't perfect, and you know, lots of things for there to be worthwhile discussions. But I do feel like just, you know, relatively trying to reduce our harm to the environment and the wildlife is a pretty easy one.
Yeah, well, 100%.
Not too controversial.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any controversy over it anyway. Should be one of the main priorities.
It's a fascinating thing about the internet, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can think that like it's the most obvious position in the world.
Yeah.
And people are like, no.
Like missionary.
What about it?
Anyway.
I actually have a hot take. I don't know if these have gone way more serious.
Let me
these
feel
discussions
it.
Than I.
Hat.
Oh, this one we can kind of gloss over because it ain't even that deep compared to the stuff we've been talking. I saw on Twitter and it was just kicking up a storm. So if the passing mark is 50 and you gave a final year student 49, you are wicked and evil.
It gets rounded up though, right?
Not always.
Sometimes they give you the benefit of the doubt and you get 49, they grade you as if it's a 50.
At my uni, it happened a lot. If you had 68, they would give you a first. If you had 58, they'd give you a 2. But the problem is that it happened to you.
No, it never happened to me. I got something like a 78 and it didn't get, because mine were different. I had to get an 85 for a first.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was 70. I just got a standard 2-1. I don't think I was particularly close. I was pretty mid 60s, so I was like fine. But it always made me kind of go, you know, like, let's say someone got a 69 and the marker goes, you were one off, this is a first, I'll happily round up. And someone goes, oh, I got 68. And he goes, it's too far off, I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Technically, he's just set the new arbitrary boundary at 69.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you get 69, you get a first. But if you're one mark off 69, which is the boundary, you don't get it. And the line has to be drawn somewhere. So I do get both. I do get, especially with pass-fail, I do feel like it's a bit tougher.
Yeah, when it's one or the other, you could be a bit seen as a bit wicked.
But even
then, you're
if you make 49, if you give everyone a 49 around up to new 50,
then 48 has to be the new 50.
Yeah,
then so does 47, and then before you know it, everyone's passed.
Yeah, before you know it, you've drawn a new line in the sand where you go, right, this is it. I'm not rounding anyone who's got like, you know,
exactly.
Anyone who's got, someone in the comments was like, anything below above a 40, you should get a pass on the 50.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've just made 40 the new boundary.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough if you look through the marking and they've been a bit harsh on a question and you got 69 and maybe they could have given you an extra mark, or they've dropped you a mark for something that they probably shouldn't have, or it's a bit harsh. Then you could question it and be like, well, give me another mark. And then you can have that, rather than being like, you solidly got 69, you can't find another mark anywhere, they marked it perfectly. Yeah. You've got a 69, I'm afraid.
Or where, so I think most of the people that got it at Durham were like, from my friends that I know at least, were people who would say, let's say they were going for a 2-1 and the pass mark for a 2-1 was 60. Like, let's say they did like 12 modules throughout the years, and in 11 of them, they got like 61, 62, and then one random module, like land law, which was notoriously hard. Yeah. They just absolutely stank and got like, you know, something ridiculously low, like in the 30s or 40s or whatever it needed.
Yeah.
Then I think the examiners would go, you were so consistently a 2-1 student and you just had one nightmare day. Now I'm happy. Yeah. And I think you're much less likely to get it than if you got like 59s, 58s on every single paper.
That's true.
And they're like, sorry, you were consistently a 2-2 student.
Yeah, yeah. That's valid, I think.
Yeah.
You do have to look at everyone overall.
Not such a hot take after all. No. But again, with all of these, I do love reading all the comments, and please don't hate us if you disagree with us, because these are moral questions.
Maybe it's lukewarm.
We're not trying to be evil.
We'll give you that.
I promise we're trying to be reasonable, and our opinions could be swayed. So if you disagree,
I don't think you can sway my opinion, can I be honest?
If you just go, I disagree, you guys are evil and dumb, it's like, well, that's not very helpful. But
drop a troll emoji if you disagree with us, and drop heavenly emoji if you agree with us.
But flesh out your opinions. Just be like, you know what? Here's why I think you guys are wrong.
Tell us why as well.
And here's why. Because that's the stuff that I really like reading.
Yeah.
Like, I think we do an okay job of being open-minded and reasonable. And I think everyone, to be fair, in the comment section is always like that with us.
Yeah.
Because we do get a lot of people that disagree with us, especially earlier on with the religious episodes we spoke about a lot. We had a lot of people who are like, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I disagree with you guys, but I like the way you approach this.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have no problems in speaking your mind.
Yeah.
That's how I found out when I look up, it's in 2 different directions.
That's why he's so open-minded. Yeah, exactly. He can see he can see both perspectives. He's on the left and the right.
Oh god, I'm such a prey animal, aren't I?
He votes Tory and Labour at the same time. He's got one of those pens that writes twice in one.
No, that's not true, guys.
No, that's not true. And also, the election isn't binary. We shouldn't
Yeah, it's non-binary.
make it or one more thing.
Interesting.
Sometimes I say that.
The Peter principle.
Pan?
Someone brought this up in like related to that hot take, and I was like, I don't entirely know where you got this from. I can kind of see a tenuous link, but not hugely relevant.
What the hell are you talking about?
Have you ever heard of the Peter principle?
No.
And it's applicable to us actually as people who hire people. So the Peter principle states that a person who is competent at their job will earn the promotion to a position that requires different skills. If the promoted person lacks the skill required for the new role, they will be incompetent at the new level and will not be promoted again. So let's say, for example, we currently have editors, right? It's kind of like the first thing you do as a YouTuber when you're growing your business. You hire editors because there's lots of editors out there. And let's say you've been working with an editor for a while, and you go, one day I kind of want to have a team of editors.
Yeah.
And you go, you've been with me for the longest time. I want you to oversee this team of editors.
Yeah.
Just because they were loyal and were really good at editing and were with you for a few years doesn't automatically mean that when you grow your business and you promote them, that they're going to be good at delegating tasks, staying on top of people, managing people well. They could be really bad at being a leader.
Yeah.
And yeah, just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the case in every industry, isn't it? You really get promoted for time spent at a place rather than skill now, or just in general, always. That's how it's always been. And it's just unfortunately how it is. But I guess in that sense, it's like, I mean, it's good to an extent because it means like the longer you're in an industry, the more you're rewarded, or the more experience you've got, the more you're rewarded. So that applies to everyone because everyone ages, and as long as you're working, you're gaining experience, you're gaining value as a employee. But then at the same time, like if you come in to an industry and you're way more skilled than the person above you, and you could do that job better than them, you're never going to get promoted to that position because you've just showed up.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Such a difficult one.
There's a good policy consequence as well, because obviously like there's always a big divide on who's at fault, whether people shouldn't be promoted on certain grounds and stuff like this. But I agree with the kind of general take in response to that it's up to the employer to just provide skills training. If you're going to promote someone and they need new skills, it's your duty as an employer to be like, listen, you know, I'm promoting you. You're going to need these new skills. I'm not just going to expect you to have them right off the bat and then be like, oh, you suck at your job. I'm not giving you a promotion. Yeah. It's like, you kind of should be just teaching me, like, give me a training course. Like, if I'm going to manage people, teach me how to manage people well, you know?
Yeah.
Invest in your people and you shall reap the rewards. Come on.
So true. That's so true. And that's beautiful, actually.
It's like when, like, Lara, arguably the best producer on
the world
in any podcast platform, when she eventually becomes Queen of England, she might not be that good at ruling people, might she?
That's true. Because she doesn't rule us, we rule the roost.
Yeah, come on.
Most painful high five ever.
No, we do whatever Lara tells us to, actually. It's quite scary.
This is all her. We don't speak any of our mind. It's all her mind.
She actually live types up a script up on the screen behind us, and we just read off it like a teleprompter.
Yeah.
Anything we've ever said is Lara.
I am batch.
It means we can never get cancelled, because if we say anything offensive, if people take offence to our trolley problem, it's all Laura.
Sorry, it's her opinion.
It's all Laura. Laura.
I think Laura sounds better.
Lara, what's your favourite nickname you've been given so far? L-Dog.
L-Dog.
That's like mine. In Locked In, I got called A-Dot for a little while.
A-Dot.
by Joke Man.
A
What?
dot.
What the hell?
Like that.
No, a dot.
Why dot?
I don't know.
Where'd the dot come from?
I do not know.
Why the dot?
Okay, right.
Oh, because the dot in between your butt cheeks.
What? Ask me again with those hands and you won't be using them for a week.
There's a high likelihood you'll never use them.
People love that we did that.
I know.
Just randomly in the middle of the horror game we did on my channel. We just randomly came out with that Liam Payne One Direction podcast.
If you don't remove those hands, there's a high likelihood you'll never use them again.
Yeah, it was so random. We chat some absolute shite in those horror games.
They're so funny, guys. Everyone go and watch them and love them.
Yeah.
They're epic / legendary.
Well, I feel like we are bordering on saying something evil.
Yeah, and
Just
Wales and Scotland.
Yeah. What?
Well, we are bordering Wales and Scotland. I'm just being truthful.
But
it was on the teleprompter. I don't know.
Who's the most evil country nearby us, do you think?
Us.
Whoa, the call is coming from within.
Cut that there. That's epic.
No, but anyway, we've done a lot of moral pondering.
True. And before I say death to all people, we better end the thing.
Before he says, can I kill both the tribe and the people?
Yeah. Can the track go both ways? Maybe on the outbound it goes this way.
There
and
are
the inbound.
unironically people who just believe that humans are a plague upon the earth and think that there should be no humans. So
I would
there
agree.
are probably people out there that just go, open it up.
I think people have that opinion after they meet you.
They're like, take the medicinal plant and give it to no one.
Yeah. Give it out.
Just swallow it all like a hamster.
Yeah.
Just in your massive cheeks. Like, I'm doing this for the better. I'm doing this for the betterment of the world. We're the real plague. It's not the plague you think it is. Humans are the plague, and this is actually not a disease. It's a cure for the earth. I knew I'd say something evil. That's why I tried to end the podcast. And now someone's gonna cut the start of that rant.
Yep, you said I had fat, massive cheeks.
To the end of the rant, completely out of context. And just there's gonna be an eternal thing of me on the internet.
You're right. I'm gonna do it.
Basically on a depopulation agenda. It's like you when you asked.
We gotta stop before you fucking say something terrible, dude.
You the other day did say, what did you say?
Oh no, we can't air that. We can't air. What did I say?
Something like, would you like coffee or 5,000? I don't even remember, but I was like, someone clipped that out of context and have that as if that's what he's proposing as a question.
Coffee or 5,000?
I can't remember what it doesn't even matter anymore. I'm getting delirious. I'm losing my mind.
That's such a proposition from me. Coffee or 5,000.
My weak, fallible mind.
Anyway.
But yeah, let us know how moral and evil you think we are. Let us know all your answers to the questions. Subscribe, follow us, join the Patreon for exciting extra stuff and early access and a Patreon live chat.
Yeah. And go put your plate in the dishwasher.
Yep. Also, I've just realised must be the longest time we've been on this podcast without making a rose toy or a menstruation joke.
I said rose toy at some point.
We didn't say it with Ash at all, did we?
We couldn't.
He would have been like, what the hell?
Oh, what? You're going to one of the most remote places on the earth, Suriname, right? I wonder if they got rose toys there. Growing out there somewhere.
Growing out there, yeah, exactly.
They've got some vicious-ass rose toys.
Yeah. Oh, so when you were dehydrated... No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm ending the podcast right now.
Okay, thanks for listening, guys. Do the usual. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this to at least one friend.
Yeah, send this to your nan.
And then if you're listening on audio platforms, rate us.
Let's do this. Okay, if you made it this far, what's a good moral emoji? Because I really liked... When we did the leave the rose toy emoji, it was like 90% of the comments.
What about the sun?
Why?
It's moral.
Oh, I would say it's amoral. But fine, leave a sun emoji. Any of them to your liking.
Yeah.
If it's got a sun in it, leave it there.
Yeah, who's got the most unique one? Let's find out.
Everyone at home is just going, wrap it up, boys. I need to go sleep right now.
We started the outro 10
I need to get back
minutes
to
ago.
work. I've been in my work cubicle toilets for an hour and a half now.
Some people do
I've got to
that,
get back to work.
Yeah, true.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed it.
And don't forget to menstruate.
Bye.
Bye.